Hi, my name is Don Bailey and I'd like to introduce you to the Card-a-tron. In this case, it's the Card-a-tron pointing to a Shadows of Brimstone card set. The Card-a-tron is a web-based search tool for card games that relies on basic technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and JSON. It can be deployed to any basic web server or run on the local host, which is your computer. It is designed to be flexible, using named images in a folder structure to provide searchable terms to find relevant card images. So now for a demonstration. Probably the simplest thing you can do is search for a card. So in this case I will search for the Executioner's Pistol, just typing in a few letters, and it brings it up. To enlarge any card, you just click on it and it appears full screen more or less, and it's fairly easy to read. The reason you're seeing two images is that I have separated my cards into multiple sets. So I have the Swamps of Death core set and the City of Ancient core set. So depending on how you arrange your cards and set up your search and sorting criteria, what you see can vary. So let me go ahead and bring up all my artifacts here. So if I type the word artifact, art, wireless keyboards aren't the best, artifact, I hit return, brings up a list of artifacts. They're not quite in alphabetical order. That's really because of the way I, again, set up my set and searching criteria, or my folder structures and searching criteria. So this is enemy pack Belial. And then every time we reset, it's going to go back to A, so expansion Caverns of Cinder, and then over here we have supplement Caverns of Cinder, and so on. This can be changed by changing your sorting and search criteria. So what I can also do here is I can bring up gear along with this. So if I do a pipe character, which is the straight up and down character above the enter key, you can see that I get a list of gear as well as artifacts. So maybe I'm going shopping. I want a new gun. This is a dream. Maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't. So I'll do gun and I'll hit return, and like, that's not all of the guns. So I do another pipe and I say pistol, and oh, that's looking better, but I know there's other things. There's like rifles, right? And shotguns. I think shotguns are probably already here. So rifles. And maybe I think carbine is another one, right? And you don't have to use the whole word, you can use part of the word. The only possible thing that can go wrong is you might get cards you weren't expecting. So there we go, it's a pretty good list of guns. And of course, clicking on any of them will bring up the image, so you can peruse it, see how much it is, sell that thing in town. Alright, click off it, it goes away. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up another screen so that I can show you more stuff. So I've scanned everything, so it's all available here. But in this case, let's do enemy, right? Oops, gotta spell it right. Enemy, boom. Alright, wait, what did I get all this stuff for? Well, let's see. Oh, enemy pack. So this is in the enemy pack, enemy pack, enemy pack. So these are all in enemy pack. So not quite what I was going for. Well, I know that the cards I'm looking for are enemy normal, enemy brutal, right? So enemy normal, boom, there's all my normal enemies, and or I can say more brutal, and there's your brutal and your normal enemies. So say maybe you don't want to bring up the cards and you want to show them on the big screen. So maybe instead of doing enemy normal, we can say I got some normal Hellbats and slashers, and I got a brutal Belial. Oh, and I gotta actually put a and. So this and symbol will run these two separate queries. So it's going to run normal bats or slashers, and then it's going to run brutal Belial or brew Belial. So what do we get? There we go, brew Belial. So Belial's actually a bigger card, so it didn't break necessarily because of the set, although actually in this case it probably did. It may have also broken based on the card size depending on my criteria. So if I click on this, you'll see that it comes up fairly large. But if I click off and click on this, it comes up a little bigger, and that's because these are those XXL cards, so they actually do get to show up just a little bit bigger to make them just a little bit more readable. So this could be useful. No? Alright, so I'm going to duplicate this again. In this case, let's say we are setting up a new player. I type in hero, I get all this stuff that deals with the heroes, right? Again, maybe a little too much. So this is hero bandita or bandita character sheet. So I could say hero sheet and get a list of all the sheets. And then, I don't know, maybe if I didn't want them all on the screen, I could do male. Oh wait, that doesn't change anything. Oh yeah, so male and female, right? So I can do female just fine, boom. But if I want to do male, if you hit a period, this says starts with. You can use it at the front or back of a word, so it could be starts with or ends with. So in this case, hero sheet and then male would bring up all the male characters. I prefer the female characters, so whatever. So this is nice to take a new character, new player, through the list of characters and kind of give them an idea of what they may or may not want to play. And then once you find something, then you can do hero, and then maybe they pick the saloon girl, right? So do hero and then saloon, and then you get a list of the starting upgrades. I think they're starting upgrades. So usually it's draw two, pick one. Maybe you assign 1, 2, and 3 to them. Have them roll 2 dice. D3. They draw 1 and 2. They get to pick their 1 or 2. Great. Comes time, then they can actually go and look at the the cards, the saloon girl or the upgrade sheet. Kind of get an idea how the character works. And also so when you want to actually do the upgrade, you could do saloon girl upgrade, right? I think that works. Well, sort of. So what is this? This is upgrade chart. So you can do up and then chart if you wanted to limit it. So there you go, update chart. What if I want page 2? Well, wait a minute. See, I'm already forgetting my set. So I have saloon girl or piano player, and that's your main sheet, and that's your upgrade chart. But they're both under levels, so you could actually do that. You could say saloon level. There you go. Now that's what we're looking for, right? Or if you wanted to see everybody, I don't know, maybe you're having everyone's upgrading, then you can do hero level and see them all. So again, can be useful. Alrighty, so I am going to duplicate this again, and maybe now we're heading into town. So I need to bring up the locations. Location, right? So there we go. There's all my locations. Can be nice if everyone has their own device, tablet or laptop or whatever. They can bring it up and kind of search through town. Maybe you throw it up on the big screen again. I don't know. But this is everything, and I kind of like it that way. But maybe you want to limit it to what you've you went to a small or medium town and you want to do blacksmith. Can't type. Blacksmith, and then the pipe character, and the church, and the doc's office, and the general store, and the mutant quarter. Alright, there we go. And so can be useful for town. Yeah, so that's that. Oh, so here I go, duplicating again. So again, how you organize your cards really dictates how you can find stuff. This is reference cards, so things where I didn't necessarily know where to put them, I kind of made a reference category. So all of these are in my reference cards, so useful. So like you could say like dynamite, right? I need the dynamite chart. Bounce diagram. Maybe you're throwing it a lot, so you just leave it up in the browser. So I've scanned just about everything, so I have map cards in here. I guess those could be useful for, oh look, old map. No, if you're maybe building a pre-built set. So I have all my tiles with a number on them. So if I go down the list in the book and I look at the numbers, I can pull the right tiles from my set. So could be useful. Encounters. Again, maybe you're looking for something in particular. A lot of times when you draw the map card, there's a particular encounter, um, on there. So I don't know, buried loot, maybe, right? Buried. There's buried loot. You can click, bring it up, do it. Oh, remains in play. You might actually have to pull the card for that one. Um, so, but useful stuff, I guess. What else can I show you? Oh, the books. So all the books are in here. Alright, so I have two main categories. I have book and card. So if you wanted to torture your system, you could actually do book and or card and hit return, and that will bring up everything. I wouldn't do this necessarily if you are hosting remotely. I don't know that I would even host remotely. I have done it. The performance isn't bad, but this is essentially all 1900 cards that I have scanned all up in one screen. So you can do it. I wouldn't recommend it, but let's go back to book and say, so here's something that's useful, right? So I can do, if I do like front book, frontier town, no fronts, right? Frontier town, page, and I do 19, 20, 21, and 22. So I happen to know that those are for the advanced travel events. So if I do that, I screwed something up. Foreign frontier town, right? There you go. So expanded travel chart. You could also scan these into separate images and name them expanded travel chart 1, 2, 3, 4. Another way to handle that. I actually want to implement some more metadata, so where you can, in each directory, put a meta file that has additional keywords for each image, but I haven't done that yet. Hasn't really been a big deal. I guess for this it might be useful. I haven't done the addendums yet. I guess those are PDFs, but you can convert those into JPEG files or image files of some sort, and also kind of include them in here. So really, as long as you can convert it to some sort of image that you can display on a web page, you should be able to show it here. So I mentioned this uses web-based technology. Don't let that scare you off. You can run it locally. So this is my editor of choice at the moment for doing this. So it is Visual Code. So, but really, the main parts of this, there's a Java file that runs to do the indexing of the files and then creates the JSON file. That JSON file gets copied into the public directory. Public directory is basically everything you need to host the website. So everything that's in there is used. And so if you want to deploy it locally or even deploy it to a web server, maybe put it behind a password protection wall, please. All you have to do is deploy the public. Now your images are going to be the biggest part of that. So like if I go here and I say reveal in File Explorer, and I brought it up, and then I'll drag it over, right? And I say properties. I have about 249 meg worth of images, so a third of a CD more or less. So it's not really that big. I mean, video files easily eclipse that. In fact, this video file I'm sure easily eclipses it by several magnitudes. I'll just run over this. Public CSS files basically helps define how things will look. These are all the image definitions and how to display the different sizes of images. That's really all that's in here. Maybe the pop-up definition and the clear, which is used for breaking sections. So and then cards, cards.json is in the data directory. So this is the file that is generated from your images. And you can see images, Shadows of Brimstone, supplement, Tradera artifacts. So basically any of this information can be used in your search. You don't have to use it all. You can actually name each piece of this and then tell it which pieces you wish to use in your search. The name at the very end, and then yeah, you can do you can set this up in a number of different ways. My particular directory structure is pretty detailed. It's less detailed than it was. I tried to back off the craziness that I was doing. So like I have artifact Tradera. I tried to basically model it after the deck. So I have a Tradera artifact deck. Well, actually I don't at the moment, but I haven't opened my Tradera set. But I have Targa. So Targa, artifacts, anywhere where I actually have a physical deck, I went ahead and tried to mimic that in my directory structure. You don't have to, you can do whatever you want, but you can see it has a URL and it has the height and width of the image, and that just helps the JavaScript figure out the orientation of the cards and how to display them. This meta file here is basically configuration. I mentioned you can name all the pieces of the directory structure. So after Shadows of Brimstone, which is actually after images, there's world, which would be Shadows of Brimstone, and set would be core, and then set name might be swamps of Dragano or swamps of death, and so forth. So, and then keywords is basically anything between the last thing you named and the file name. So you could put keywords right at the top and the name, and then you could direct your structures can be whatever, and that might work very well. So I haven't really played around with it enough to kind of get that basic idea of what's the easiest way to do this. I'm thinking about modeling just a deck of cards as an example, so maybe I'll play with that. Special characters, I actually scan every copy of the card, so I have 4 of something, I scan 4 of them, and then I put a dash 2, 3, and 4 on the other ones, so this dash just helps me eliminate those from showing up. Query separator, you saw that in action doing the and. Oh, I didn't show you the property set, but basically any of these properties here can be used in the search criteria. So let me go back to the search and let's see, go here. Nope, there we go. So say I said name, which would be the file name. Move that name, and I say equals, and I say sword, right? So basically it's looking at the file name, sword. I could look at set. It's not called set. What is it called? Let's go back. It's called set name, set type. So, so like let me take set type. Right, set type, and let me make it an expansion maybe. So that's all the cards that are of set type expansion. So that's that. The images directory is all your images. I think I already went over that. I mentioned that the images I use are 150 dpi. I actually scan at 600, but then I resize them using I think it's iframe view to 125. No, 25%, which is 150 dpi. And then the last thing here is libraries. So UglyPop is a library that I found on the internet. It's what does the pop-up. I made a minor modification to it to handle clicking off the image. The author is up here. I appreciate him throwing it out there and saying we could have at it. So very useful for me. And then Card-a-tron is kind of all the code, my JavaScript that glues it all together. So you have your HTML here, brings up the page. That loads the libraries when it starts, which then loads the metadata, which then is used to display the images. So it's pretty concise. There's about 1,000 lines of code in total. So hopefully I will upload this to GitHub in the next week or so. Kind of hard for me, a little bit of a perfectionist, and it's my first time sending something up to a public repository. So I do this for a living, but it's very different coding, and it's all to private repositories. So I find that most of the time now I'm running it locally and then kind of sharing it through the house or wherever I happen to be. So I use a Node module for that. If you're not familiar with Node, it's no big deal. I'll try to give a couple of variations in the README file, but you can see there's Jetty up here. That's another way to run it. But any sort of web server that can host files should work. Your browser is really doing most of the work. So HTTP server is a node module, and then public is the directory. So when I do HTTP public and it starts running, and then I go back to Card-a-tron and I hit the clear here, which is brings it up, and then when I did that artifact search from earlier, right? You can basically see it's serving it up from my local machine. So yeah, pretty basic. So that's pretty much it. Again, I'm going to try to get this out in about a week or so. There's lots of things that I would like to do with it. It would be kind of cool if you could bring up like the loot cards and have them face down and maybe pick one at random. That could be fun, or maybe have it pick one at random for you. That would be maybe useful for enemies as well, or any number of things. But if you have suggestions or ideas, that would be cool too. Once I push it to the Git repository, if you have experience coding or want to give it a shot, you'll be able to pull it down and hack away and see what you come up with. And if you use something cool, maybe send it back and we can merge it in. So anyway, if you find this interesting or useful, let me know, or whatever. I'm sure you'll let me know. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me. Take care. Oh, there is something I forgot to mention, which of course is the biggest thing about this system, is you have to provide card images. And since this is Shadows of Brimstone is Flying Frog's IP, scanning the cards is up to the individual. You might be to share among friends. That's not technically legal, but I don't know. It would be nice if we could get a nice set provided. But anyways, that's probably the biggest stumbling block to any of this, is it takes a lot of work to scan all the cards. There might be an easier solution using cell phones, and maybe kind of like a cell phone holder mounted to a stand, a board, where you slide the cards against an edge stop and take pictures of them. I don't know. Anyways, so some ideas around that would be useful too. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to bring that up. I'm not trying to cause problems with IP. The idea is that you're going to have to provide the images, as painful as that might be. So if it's worth it to you, you'll do it. If not, you won't. I know I've seen some of the images in what is that, tabletop simulator, so I'm not sure the legalities around that. I mean, to me it doesn't seem legal, but your results may vary. Anyway, respect IP. People need to make money off their work. All right, so that's it. Take care. Bye.